Have you ever noticed how days when you have more confidence or a lack of confidence affects how you show up in your business and to the people that are counting on you? Today I'm going to be vulnerable and share something really hard with you. I had a meltdown this week, a full-on brain shutdown, emotional wreck meltdown. I had 2 clients that had rescheduled, and that left me with some time open, so I figured I might as well fill that time with doing some other parts of the business that need to be taken care of. And then I bounced from one thing to the next without any real clear plan and no goal in mind for what I wanted to do at this time, which meant that I didn't finish anything. I just touched a lot of different things. Nothing really got done. That's strike 1 for executive function, planning and prioritizing. Then I discovered that an ad that I'd only run for a couple of days was shut down for a couple of different reasons, and that sent me into this rejection sensitivity tailspin. That was strike number 2. Now I shifted all of my effort into researching about running ads online. What should I have done? What could I have done? And then I started listening to everyone else's opinions, and that doubt in my mind just doubled down. By the end, nothing got completed. I felt like a total failure, and in my mind, there was nothing I could do that was worthwhile. Strike 3, I went to bed in complete overwhelm and total dysregulation. Self-doubt had taken over, and I had lost all confidence in my abilities. Now, a little while back, I talked about self-confidence and that trust in yourself as a way of helping get through some of the executive function problems that we have in business, like working memory issues, trying to remember things, trying not to be distracted, the planning and prioritizing. Trusting yourself is a big part of making sure that all of those things are working properly, even with ADHD. So self-trust is really important for those things, and I mentioned that in this social media post. But then a friend and a fellow entrepreneur laughed and said, "Yeah, how do you even do that?" Well, that's a really good question, and I didn't answer him then. I wasn't really sure what to answer. But I've decided that I really need to talk about that, and I've been thinking pretty hard about it ever since. Now, even though for the most part I have systems and tools for managing my executive functions, I still have days that send me into a tailspin like this one that I just described. And I'm pretty sure that this happens to everyone at some point in time. So how do you learn to trust yourself after days like this? Today I'd like to talk about learning to trust yourself after mistakes leave you mired in self-doubt. This is episode 19, 3 practices to build unshakable self-trust as an ADHD entrepreneur. Welcome to Focus for Business Owners with ADHD, where we help entrepreneurs recognize the struggles that are slowing their growth and may be costing them time, money, and missed opportunities. We'll be teaching you the tools to work around these difficulties while helping you to develop the skills to make real progress and finally build the business you've been dreaming of. Now back to that social media post. When I was talking about trusting yourself, I believe I was talking about working memory issues at the time, like when you're so worried about forgetting something that you end up putting in way too much time and effort into not forgetting, that you end up wasting time with unnecessary worry or forgetting something completely different, or you end up forgetting the thing anyway. This often leads to more stress and worry and more things being forgotten or missed. Choosing to trust yourself is a step in the process of breaking that worry, stress, forget cycle. Usually when we worry about forgetting something, we turn to some of the traditional tools for remembering things, like writing it down on a list or leaving things out where you can see them, or putting important appointments down on a calendar. But so often for those of us with ADHD, long written lists of things to do or things to remember can often cause just more overwhelm. That long list looks like way too much to have to deal with. And the things that you left out so that you'd remember them, that turns into clutter and you start to ignore them. And then pretty soon you don't even see them at all and they don't do anything for you. This happened to me when I was told to take some digestive enzymes with my meals. I kept forgetting to do it, so I left it out in a windowsill so I would see it when I was cooking dinner. Within days, that just blended in with the herbs and the other things I had sitting in that window, and I still don't remember to take those pills. So many techniques for helping with executive dysfunctions like time management, working memory, or planning and prioritizing are created for neurotypicals who don't think the same way that we do. We may worry about forgetting things because we know of the times that we've forgotten in the past. But when you worry about forgetting, there's a stress hormone that is released, and that stress actually triggers parts of your brain to forget things intentionally. I'm sure it's meant to protect you from worrying so much, kind of to relieve that tension. And I know it totally doesn't make sense and it backfires. I mean, if your conscious brain were in charge of the situation, it would probably create a plan to make sure that whatever the thing is that you're concerned about has a way to be remembered and taken care of. But a stressed out brain is just looking for some relief. And sometimes that relief comes in the form of doing something that is easy right now so that you can feel accomplished. Then later, when you remember the thing that you were stressing about, you feel terrible. Self-doubt feels like it's been confirmed, and the stress doubles down. The opposite of this is learning to trust yourself. This allows your brain to let up on that tension so that your conscious brain can come back on and take control. When this happens, there's a lot less chance of you actually forgetting. When you trust your brain to remember what matters, your other executive functions will be more consistent also. It's not just about working memory. Learning to trust yourself will help with time management. It helps with planning and prioritizing and getting and staying organized and getting the things done that you really want to and really care about. Not to mention how much easier it's going to be to communicate and interact with the people that you need to and that you work with in your life. But this brings us back to my friend Zach's question. How do you even do that? Today, I'm going to share 3 vital practices that will strengthen your self-trust so you can show up with confidence and find real joy in building and running your business. The first practice is to look at your past with intention, instead of using it as proof of error or proof that you can't do the things that you want to. Instead, look for proof that you can accomplish what you set out to. The truth is, we know about the times that we forgot and the times that we wish we had done better. We know about the times when we let someone down or lost a customer or failed to execute on something that we really wanted to do. And no matter how amazing people say that you are, part of being human means that we narrow in on the areas that we didn't do well in because we want to improve. I know I make mistakes. I know I mess up more than I would like to. I know that I've let people down sometimes. But you know what else I know? I know that I've solved some really big problems. I built a highly successful medical billing practice. I've helped a lot of people to live happier, healthier lives. And I've learned the art of making amends for the times when I've messed up. Trusting yourself is not a matter of thinking that you won't make mistakes. You will. I will. We all do at some point. Trusting yourself doesn't mean that you believe that you will never have these problems again. Trusting yourself does mean believing that even if you forget something important, or you get a customer order wrong, or you get it to them late, you will recover and do what's needed to make it right. I'm sure you have big accomplishments from your past that can remind you of the good things that you do in the world. Intentionally remembering the skills and the talents that you do have helps you to remember your value, and remembering times in the past when you overcame hard things reminds you that you have the ability to recover in the future. The steps you need to take to start this practice will look best if you set some quiet time aside just for yourself to brainstorm. First, list out all of the good, positive aspects of yourself as a person and as a business owner, including the things that you do that your customers value. Next, brainstorm the hard things that you've faced in your life and celebrate that you did overcome them. You got through the hard stuff. You're still going, and that means that you can get through other difficulties as they come up. In the process of brainstorming, don't forget to write down what you did to overcome them. Were there any little tricks or self-talk that helped? Next, I want you to brainstorm when you made mistakes or totally blew something that you really wanted to do, and recognize that you survived. You survived that also. You learned a lot from the life that you've lived. Remember that as proof that you can get through whatever else life or business throws at you. This is the first step in building self-trust, remembering the good things that you've done and the things that you've overcome. The second practice is paying attention to how you talk to yourself. Imagine that you're working on something that you haven't done in a long time and you just can't remember exactly what the process is. You can get frustrated and say something like, "What is wrong with me? Why didn't I write this down somewhere?" Or, "Why can't I remember how to do this?" If that sounds a little bit too real, that's because I've said this to myself. This is something I relate to. So I have to look at what's the other thing that you can do. You can take a breath and a mental step back and relieve the pressure from your brain by telling yourself, "Somewhere in my brain, I know the answer to this problem. I'm sure when it's ready, it will come to me." Or, "I figured this out once, I'll figure it out again." Either way, relieving the pressure from yourself gives you the belief that you can move forward anyway without perfect recall, and start doing the research or asking the right questions, and then go ahead and move forward anyways. Then you'll be able to recover from this lapse, even if recovery for now is just moving on to the next thing. The reason why the way you talk to yourself is such a crucial step is that the human brain wants you to be right more than it wants you to be happy or successful. When you tell yourself something, your brain will start looking for evidence to support the thing that you believe to be true about yourself or the world that you live in. When you say, "Why do I keep missing things?" or "I just can't get done in time," your brain will set out to find the evidence to tell you why you mess up, and I guarantee they won't be really nice to you. Or it looks for ways to make sure that you're right about not getting things done on time. When I think about this concept, I think about the yellow car. When my kids were young, they played a game when we were driving somewhere as a family. If you see a yellow car and the car has to be moving, it can't be a parked car and it can't have any writing on it. Like you can't use a taxi or a school bus. If you see that, then you say out loud, "Yellow," and you get a point. I don't know where they came up with this game, but to this day, my 24-year-old son will still yell out, "Yellow," in the middle of a conversation while we're driving. I don't see any yellow cars because I'm not tuned in. It's not something I've told my brain is important, but he may notice them for the rest of his life. So if you find yourself saying, "I'm never on time," your brain will make sure that this is true and start looking for other things to do right when you should be leaving for the meeting. Or it may convince you that if you have a meeting at 10 o'clock, you should leave around 10 to get there, even though it takes 15 minutes to get across town to that meeting. The next time you find yourself about to point out a negative about yourself, try saying something like this: "I can find a way to be on time," or "Don't worry, you can count on me." Then you've given your brain the belief that you are trustworthy, and it will help you instead of finding ways to sabotage you. Try this out on small things in your life. Give yourself proof that you can succeed. Then keep trying with tasks that are increasingly more important. This leads us to the third and final practice. This is the 3 C's: curiosity, challenge, and competition. This is where you approach problems with playfulness. This incorporates some of the natural ADHD motivators to gamify the process of developing trust. This also has to do with how you talk to yourself, but this is a lighter and more fun method. This is talking to yourself in a curious way, like, "I wonder what would happen if." This involves looking at something that you normally would worry about, like forgetting something, being late, or struggling to complete something that's important. Instead of meeting it with pressure, ask yourself questions that spark curiosity. If you struggle to finish your weekly reports by 5 o'clock Friday, ask, "I wonder what would happen if I finished this on Thursday." No pressure, you haven't committed to it, but I just wonder. Or if you are known to be the last person to every meeting, ask yourself, "If I were to get to the meeting 5 minutes early, I wonder if I would learn something new or get to talk to someone new." Or, "I wonder what people would say if they saw that I'm early." Curiosity sparks a little interest in our brain, and our brains love to solve these kinds of problems. This spring, I joined a choir at my church, and this was for a special event, so it only had 6 weeks. And for 6 weeks, we had to be to all of these rehearsals. We were also expected to take this music home with us in a binder and practice it at home. Now, in the past, I've been pretty bad at remembering to bring back music to any choir that I've joined. I take the music home, I go back, and then I end up borrowing from them because I count on them to have it for me. But this time, this was a really big, special choir, and we were really expected to be responsible. I knew that it was important to not forget the music this time because they weren't going to have an extra set of music for me. Well, maybe they did, but I didn't expect that they would have. So I decided to ask myself, I wonder what would happen if I take this and leave it on my piano. I wonder if I'll remember it if I leave it there. Now here's the thing. My piano is not out in the main room of that house. My piano is in my office. And it's not something that I pass by every day. I certainly wouldn't be passing by it on the day that I have the choir rehearsal. But I didn't put the pressure on myself, remember it or else. I just was like, I wonder what happens if I leave this here. So I didn't worry about it. I left it there. And you know what happened? I remembered that music to every single rehearsal. When you say to yourself, don't forget this, you better not forget this, you have to remember this, you're actually saying to your brain, I don't trust you to remember this, so I'm going to nag you whenever I think of it. And your brain reacts with, I guess I'm not trustworthy to remember things. Okay, I'll do what's expected. I'll forget. Now, because you forgot the thing that you spent so much time and effort trying to remind yourself about, you then reinforce the belief that you can't be trusted to remember things. The more this cycle continues, the more it reinforces itself. Try interrupting this thought pattern and see if you can start to decrease the chance of forgetting. The next time you find yourself saying, I need to remember this, or don't forget this, try asking yourself, I wonder if I will remember where I put this next time I need it, or when it's time to leave, let's see if I remember this. When you take the pressure off and find a way to look at it with interest in what might happen, you allow your brain to look with curiosity also, and not just obedience to prove something that you believe about yourself. It's playing a game to see what happens next. Another way to disrupt this pattern is take it on as a challenge. The ADHD brain loves a challenge. Say you have a flyer that you want to distribute during a certain week for a new product or a service. You know when you want it completed and available for distribution, but you're not convinced you'll have it done on time or that you'll remember. Try saying something like this. I can't wait to see my customers' faces when they see this, and I dare you to get it out a few days early. Now it's a challenge. You turn this tendency to forget or to procrastinate into a game. Is there a chance you'll still forget? Yes, but it's a lot less likely because now it's not something you need to prove about yourself. And you'll probably find that when you talk to yourself this way, you'll get more done and enjoy the process more. This challenge is showing that you trust your brain, even before you consciously believe it yourself. The third C is competition, which means involving someone else in a playful competition to see who can finish first or finish the task. This can be compared to body doubling, which is when you're trying to get something done that's tedious that you maybe are not motivated to do, and you have someone else do it alongside you. When you're working together, there's something about that that can help you also to get things done. This is a little more intentional and more of a competition. There's something about our brains that love to try to be there first. This is obviously not going to work with something that requires some deep thinking and creativity, but if it's something tedious that you're just putting off and needs to get done, that can help to have somebody right there alongside you competing to see who can finish their name that boring task first. It's similar to challenging yourself, but you invite a friend or a colleague to join you. Too many people feel like they can only trust themselves to accomplish something once they have proof of it. In other words, if you can go a certain number of days without forgetting something or without missing a step or without being late to something, then you'll start to trust yourself to be able to do it. For this person, they're seeing trust as being able to count on yourself to always get it right and never make mistakes. But that just isn't realistic. We're all human, we're all going to make mistakes, and we just get things wrong sometimes. Don't wait for perfection before you choose to trust yourself. Trusting anyone shouldn't be contingent on expecting them to never make mistakes. You trust another person when you know that they're a person of integrity, who says what they mean, and does their best to follow through with the things that they have promised that they will do. Is that the kind of person that you can be to yourself? Do you do your best to follow through, even if you have to pivot once in a while? Simon Sinek, a highly successful entrepreneur, once said, what helped him the most as an entrepreneur is to embrace uncertainty. I don't think that comes natural to most people, and certainly not to me. Our brains crave certainty. But the reality of living on planet Earth is that there is no certainty. I wasn't embracing uncertainty when I posted my new ad. I went into it with certainty that this would work. Then they shut me down. Trust doesn't mean that you have all of the answers all of the time, without a little bit of trial and error, like this ad that I'm trying to get going. Trusting yourself means knowing that when things do go wrong, you have the ability to figure it out. You'll figure out how to fix it, or to do the research, or find the answers, or find people that can help you. When you're ready to build self-trust, remember these 3 practices. Number 1, start with remembering the good things that you do and the times that you triumphed and how you overcame things in the past. And know that you can do it again. Number 2, building trust starts with how you talk to yourself and about yourself. Number 3, play with curiosity, challenge, and competition to lighten up how you approach your responsibilities. Your struggles don't have to define you. They're just a part of living with an ADHD brain. You have so much to offer, and you can do big, amazing things. Get out and give it a try. Experiment, get curious, and I dare you to believe in yourself. I know I do. If you've enjoyed what you've heard today and you found any of this to be helpful, please share this episode with friends that you think can relate to these issues. And be sure to follow so you don't miss an episode. And if you're ready to dive deeper, I invite you to check out my free masterclass that gives you a better understanding of how ADHD shows up in business and what you can do to move past these problems. You'll find a link in the show notes. Until next time, I wish you an enjoyable, purpose-filled week.